My name is Judy Fleming. I'm a ceramic artist and I live in Oakland, California. So I've been doing ceramics for about 12 years. I started in high school and community college right after high school and continued to do it because it was something that made me feel grounded and whole, and I love giving gifts to people and I love making things for people that they can gift. It's my passion and my love, and it's something that I want to do forever. I'm going to Jingdajian in Jiangxi province. I'm going to meet a ceramics porcelain master. His name is Huang Yingpeng. Jingdajian is the center of ceramics porcelain in China. It's been around for over 1,000 years. It used to be kind of the mecca of production. It's a place that still has a lot of that history, but a lot of the industry has been dispersed around other parts of China, and they're looking for kind of reviving ceramics porcelain there. Master Huang Yingpeng is a master ceramic artist in that he does reproductions of porcelain ceramics in the very old style. So he takes some of the old works of the old dynasties and recreates them with the old style of porcelain and hand-painted porcelain as well. He seems to be just part of the community and interested in reviving the porcelain ceramics there. Today is my first day in Jingdajian, and I came to Huang Yingpeng's exhibition hall. I just got to see all this beautiful ceramics, all this porcelain that has a lot of history behind it. A lot of the work is replicas of old ceramics from the Ming Dynasty and the Yuan Dynasty. I got to finally meet Master Huang Yingpeng. Nice to meet you.
Welcome.
我们这些产品呢，不管是仿古石，还是永古创新的新产品，都是按照景德镇的这个传统的手工制式工艺制作起来的。
Basically, he's a painter and he paints on these ceramic pieces. And he told me about his work as a painter and a little bit about his history. And he also showed me some of his ceramic work.
这个时期是元代的这个后期的典型的作品。
So Master Huang told me that this is a copy from the Yuan Dynasty. It is a very rare piece originally because of the characters that are in it, and the characters tell a story. And so if you look at it, you can see different people, horses. I think he said this one is about a woman who goes to the west.
造型、纹饰胎釉都和原先一样。
And this one here is from the Ming Dynasty. He said it's 5 different colors, and each of the underglazes he formulated himself. But you can see all the different colors and how they kind of bleed in different ways. The ceramics here, there are a lot of different styles, different sizes. Some are very small, some are big. Some of the old dynasty porcelain ceramics. A lot of the other work here is just different designs, different colors. So some is very basic, some is very simple. Others are very, very detailed with a lot of different colors in them. So just a great variety. After we got to see the exhibition room, we went upstairs and he has a little workshop up there where his students come who are also his workers, his apprentices. And they come and learn different techniques from him there. In the room, he was teaching a little lesson on how to draw and paint some of his ceramics. And He had taken some of the old dynasty ceramics and put them on the table for people to look at, to see close up the designs. And he talked about the paintings on them and how they are painted. And so basically it's one color that they use, and the thickness determines how dark it will be. And he also told me a little bit about perspective and about drawing, and he did a little drawing on the board of a leaf and talked a little bit about the perspective of the leaf. It's kind of like dancing, so it's not going to look just straight or flat, and that we're painters and that we should think about it in a more three-dimensional way. So to put perspective on it, shorter on one side and larger on the other side. We came here to the Gaolin clay mine to see where some of the clay comes from. The mining of clay began in the Yuan dynasty. It flourished in the Ming and Qing dynasties. So this is an old relic site where they used to harvest some of the Gaolin clay. You can see it's kind of a cave inside, and they used to harvest it from the granite stone. So Gaolin clay is the weathering of the granite, and it has a content of aluminum, which helped to make larger pieces of porcelain objects. Gaolin clay was actually named after Gaolin Mountain, and it flourished from there to all over the world.
就是把这个土放在这里，粗土放在这里，然后用水冲洗淘，这细土就流下去了。
Master Huang just told me about this washing site. So they would take some of the harvest from the mine nearby, and they would sift it here in this big pool. They would fill it with water. After the clay was sifted and some of the sand was out of the clay, it would float down into this lower pool, after which it would dry a little and they would be able to use it in production. Today was such an amazing day. I feel so inspired. I got to see so many different things. First, we started with getting to see some of Master Huang's workshop. First, they were kneading the clay, or what we call wedging the clay. And then right next to him, there was a wheel set up where a person was throwing on the wheel, and he was throwing these really large pots. He had the speed turned up pretty fast for the duration that he was throwing. He looked very, very comfortable doing it. I think he said he started when he was 14 years old. We got to see a little bit of the trimming. There was 2 trimming stations. The first one, he was trimming this big trash can, I guess. It was a commissioned piece. He'd never done it before. It was his first time doing that particular design. And after that, we went and saw the second trimmer. And he was doing smaller pieces, and he had these amazing tools that I'd never seen before. So this tool is used for trimming the outside, but this one hasn't been sharpened yet. They have these ridges in it in order to make it faster when they trim. And then this is a finished one, and it's for trimming the inside. And after I was really interested in the trimming tools, he let me come in and trim one myself. We went straight through into another room where they have the kiln room, and they just happened to be unloading a kiln at that time. They have 3 different kilns that they use that are probably running pretty constantly, and the ware that he was taking out of the kiln had been sitting and cooling for 24 hours. So by the time we got to see them, they were just a little bit warm. And the man who works there, he takes the pieces out of the kiln and he's the inspector. So he looks at all of the pieces and makes sure that the glaze is okay, that everything is even, that nothing is cracked. And they were beautifully done. A lot of the pieces were not at all damaged. They looked totally pristine. After that, we got to see a little bit of the glaze room. And this is a way that we do it also. I've seen it done before in this way where they just have a room and it's a glaze booth for airbrushing. So they take glaze and they put it in an airbrush can and are able to just lightly put the glaze on top of what they call underglaze. So a lot of the pieces before they have the glaze on top have this detail underglaze work underneath. We went upstairs where there were many different people hand painting all these different pieces. And it was really inspiring when you walk up into the room. It's just so many different pieces were just lining the different areas and had many different people sitting, and they were all very, very focused. And some people were working on brand new pieces that were commissioned, so they were working just freehand. And then some people were working on these old like dynasty pieces. They had to work very meticulously and everything had to be perfect. They were using patterns that were already printed for them and they were just painting on top. So not only that, but there were some people that were doing different techniques. It's kind of a reductive way of glazing. So they'd put the glaze on and then take it away. So make different patterns from the glaze that was on top. And I was really impressed by the way that they painted. Their hands were so steady. It seemed like they each had a lot of practice. So yeah, they're artists and it's a big part of their lives. We went to Master Huang's gallery space, so we got to see some of his work. This is his work that's like his original paintings that were just kind of more his style. And it was really great to see how his style was really free brushstrokes. So I got to see these fish that look similar to me as like a mackerel fish, but they're very common to this region. One was a big painting of the different seasons, and they're really big in size. And a lot of detail work on them. And I got to see the fish on these big ceramic pots, as well as some plum blossom trees that he had painted on different ceramics. And he said that he likes to paint the blossoms on longer pieces that are more suitable for that length of the tree. Whereas for the fish, he likes to paint on rounder surfaces, such as round pots, because he feels that the fish are kind of dancing on the pieces. After we got to see his gallery space, I feel very fortunate I also got to go and spend some time in his studio and watch him work. It was very meditative, and you could tell that he had done it for a very long time, that it was something that he was very passionate about, it's something he loved to do, and all of us were just totally quiet when we watched him work. Had me come over, watched him paint the plum blossom tree. He started with the branches, but it was like a rough area that he painted. And then I watched him continue that on, but leave spaces out. And it was a surprise to me when he started painting the actual blossoms. It was like he knew exactly where the blossoms went, where the layers were. So it's just a great experience to see his process and how he painted in layers. Some things look like they're farther away and some things look like they're closer up. We got to go to his museum, which was on the 3rd level of that workshop building. Going in is just this beautiful display of all of these beautiful pieces of art. A lot of them are very, very historical, very important works of art that were brought back to this area. Some that had been auctioned at different places had ended up in Europe or ended up in different parts of China that are now part of his collection. And one of the reasons why he keeps these pieces is to learn more about his craft. It's his passion for ceramics that keeps all of this work here, and he keeps building on it based on what more he wants to learn. So in addition to some of the older dynasty work, he has some pieces of work of his own that is his very favorite pieces, are the ones that he keeps there. He had some big pieces of the freshwater fish and some of his other works of art displayed in the museum. And I personally love museums too. I love looking at objects and I love getting to sit with objects, and I feel like I learn a lot from the experience of getting to go to a museum and to see the history behind it. He taught me a little bit about how to authenticate.
这是元代的青花陈子某单位梅品。
He first brought out one big piece that had been kind of cracked and put back together, and it was from the Yuan dynasty. So he had the original and the replica version that was made with his company. The blue and the white porcelain, as far as the painting itself, were very similar. But one way that you can find the differences is the actual glaze. So the original glaze is a little bit deeper in shade. It's kind of a dark blue, almost black. And it was a little bit runny, this glaze in particular, versus the glaze on the replica had a little bit cleaner, a little bit lighter tone than the original. And you could also tell the difference of the firing. So one was fired with the old wood kiln and one was fired with a new gas kiln. And that's another way that you can tell is just from the remnants of the firing. The second piece he showed was a plate that was worth about $130,000.
这是清代咸丰时期的。
And it had more colors on it, so it wasn't just the blue and the white colors, it had 5 colors, I believe. And it was the 8 treasures, so it was kind of an old folklore tale. It was made for the emperor's dining piece. There are about 100 of them made originally, so they're very, very valuable pieces. And he showed me also on the bottom the different signatures.
这是道光的，这不是咸丰的，是大清道光年制的。
You could tell by also the brightness of the colors of the original had a much brighter tinge to it than the replication, which is another way that you can tell if it's real or if it's fake. He showed me a piece that he really, really liked.
这件呢是我仿古的代表作，是这个仿元青花鬼谷子下山纹的冠。
He painted on it the same exact scene, so it was a war scene. And he also said that the original sold for $40 million, so it's a very expensive piece as well. And the replication itself is worth around $70,000 US. We went on a little field trip. We got to go visit a kiln, which was very close to his company actually. And this kiln was under this little roof. So this is one of 4 or 5 kilns in Qingdezhen. It's called the Zhen Kiln, which means town kiln. And there used to be many more of these, but this is one that's still in use. And it's kind of has an egg shape. But it's a wood-fired kiln, so they would bring in pieces And they would kind of surround these in these stackable things that would protect them from the elements and put them inside the wood kiln. They would seal it up and then just feed it with wood from the outside. So it's a high-fired kiln. It gets to be very hot, and it was only used to produce some of the best quality work. And it would fire for at least 23 hours until it was finished. I would love to fire something in a kiln like that. So we came out here to the countryside. It's about a half hour outside of Jingdezhen. And this is where the porcelain stone is crushed into a finer powder to use for porcelain. And essentially what it is they harvest some of the porcelain stone from the mountain. A man puts it through a machine to make the stone a little bit smaller. And after that, they put it into this area here. And it's powered by this large water wheel here where they diverge some of the river to power the wheel. And it is controlling these bigger hammers that is actually crushing the porcelain stone into very fine powder. After that, they sift it with water twice to get some more of the sand out of the porcelain stone into a product that they can use. The porcelain stone is an element to the porcelain clay that he uses here. So it's very, very local, very close to the workshop here. We went to a museum here in Jingdezhen in the center of the city, and it was called the Dragon Pearl Pavilion. So on the top level of the Dragon Pearl Pavilion, there was a piece from the Yuan dynasty in the center of the pavilion. And I asked why so many of the pieces had been broken and just kind of put together. And the person there who was guiding me through told me that oftentimes the emperor would order 10 pieces to be made, and he would pick the one out of the 10 that was the best piece, and then they would break all the others. So often in the archaeological sites, they would find all the broken pieces of the same piece that he had ordered, all in one place. Afterwards, we went downstairs to the old kilns. This is the site of imperial kilns that were used during the Yuan, Ming, and Qing dynasties. Many great porcelain pieces were fired out of these kilns. The kilns themselves were shaped similarly to steamed buns. There were 7 of them here. They fired each about 300 small pieces in each kiln, but many archaeologists have found some great works here that has uncovered some wonderful history of this region. Today we went to the Jingkang village, which is an area outside of Jingdezhen and a very historic, ancient part of Jingdezhen as well, where the Song and 5 dynasties kiln site. The mountain is surrounded with these kilns that they had built into the mountain. And as we walked in, I really got a sense of the amount of clay and the richness of the soil on the mountain. The first site that we came to was a mine, and the mine was where they harvested a certain type of clay that had celadon in it, which is a type of clay that has kind of a shadowy blue color when it's fired. And before, when they were talking about this kind of clay as being a blue, like an imitation or fake jade color, and I had no idea what that meant until this trip when I saw the actual stone that makes this type of clay. In a museum, you would look at it and think that it was a blue glaze, but on further inspection today, I noticed that the clay body was actually a blue color. After we saw the mine where the clay is from, I got to walk a little bit more, and we saw just these little pieces of ancient ceramics kind of littering the sides of the we came back into Jingdezhen and we got to see a school, the Jingdezhen Ceramic Institute, where Master Huang went to college from 1962 to 1966. And it was here that he got to lay his foundation for his work as an artist. And he started as a porcelain sculptor here at the school where he studied, and we got to see the very room where he worked as a student making sculpture. Master Huang, after graduating from the Jingdezhen Ceramic Institute, went into work at a museum, the Jingdezhen Ceramic Museum, where he worked authenticating as well as replicating of some old ancient pieces. Master Huang worked at the museum for 28 years. He also gained a community there within the ceramic community and continued to grow his craft. Today we went to a place called Yaoli, which is about an hour outside of Jingdezhen. And we got to walk around the town a little, and I had the chance to finally interview Master Huang.
我家是农村的，我小时候在我的农村里读书。
He started to paint when he was in elementary school, so at a very young age. It was in high school that he began to appreciate more porcelain arts and decided that he wanted to go to college for porcelain ceramics.
香港的一个收藏家，他喜欢我的作品。
In his later time at the museum, he met an art collector from Hong Kong who had actually been collecting his work for quite some time. And he was really inspired by Master Huang's work and offered to pay him $20,000 US to start his business, to help him buy a kiln for his own work. After he got the kiln in place, he started his business in 1993 with 12 people. And from there it grew into what it is today, which is a workshop of 300 people working for him in 2 different factories.
现在呀，有现代的创新的陶瓷艺术有2种风格。
So I asked Master Huang how Jingdezhen has changed in the past 2 decades, and he said that it's changed a lot. A lot of artists have been coming into Jingdezhen from all over China, and I assume all over the world as well, as it's a world-renowned place. But people are coming in with new styles and new materials and adding more of abstract art as well.
我的陶瓷作品主要是还是永不创新，用传统的技法来表现所要表现的题材。
So Master Huang, I asked him if contemporary art has influenced his work, and he said that his passion is in the ancient ceramics and the old style. His method of painting is exactly the same as it was in ancient time, but his subject matter is a little bit different to reflect more of the current time.
我学的是陶瓷，爱好的是陶瓷，我的工作是陶瓷。我把陶瓷艺术当作我自己的生命。
Master Huang is 74 years old, and he's been painting on ceramics for a very long time. And what keeps him going is his love and passion for ceramics. And it's something that he's done for so long. It's something that he studied, and it's something that he's still very passionate about, so much so that he feels that painting on ceramics is his life, and porcelain is his life.